Hello everyone and welcome to another live from the workshop, and today I'm going to be making a second Doctor figure, which is something of a bit of a rarity for me. But I'm going to be making the second Doctor as he appeared in the Two Doctors, and this is actually going to be the second Doctor as he appeared in the Two Doctors without his coat. Obviously we did see, and we did get indeed, a coated version. This is going to be a coatless version. So for this I have as a base second Doctor figure. The head I've already repainted with grey hair, and I've already sculpted on his braces and done some made some small changes to the body. And the arms are actually from a Raggedy Doctor 11th Doctor figure, so those will be stuck in place. And obviously once it's all together, you can see you've got a base figure. But the first things first is going to be to add on the trouser detailing, so I'm going to get onto that right now. And so here is my finished 2 Doctors Coatless second Doctor. Overall, it's not that different from my 6th Doctor variant. The main difference is that I've had to do so little extra sculpting on the torso. Literally all I've done for this one is fill in the areas and the gaps on the torso, on the back and the front, and then sculpt on his braces. That's pretty much all the sculpting work I've had to do. But just generally, I've swapped out the arms for the Raggedy Doctor arms. I decided to go against using the Raggedy Doctor arms. I have just given him his standard arms because I did put the Raggedy Doctor arms on there first, and the problem was that his actual hands, the forearms I should say, just looked way too long, so I decided just to sort of leave them, the sleeves slightly rolled up, because it still gives the sort of right, I think it still gives the right look, the right impression of the figure. The head, obviously I've given the hair an overall grayer repaint. I know that obviously some people would say, well, why not use the official version? I did consider using the official version to make this, but at the time I started to make this, the official version wasn't released. And so by the time I'd actually sort of put it together and I sort of thought about getting an official one, and I got one of the official ones, which I wanted to keep as standard, but then I thought about getting another one to use the trousers and the head off, but by the time I started doing all this work, it seemed a bit pointless to go and buy an official one. So I just decided to use that as a sort of reference guide, especially for the trousers, where I've repainted the cross hatching on the trousers and given that the same sort of cross hatching that's seen on the 2 Doctors official variant. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the finished product. Rather like my 6th Doctor as well, I've had to unfortunately forego keeping the articulation of the Raggedy Doctor arms. But what I will say is, if you've got, like I said, the 6th Doctor was much more extensive in terms of the sculpting that had to be done. But if you do have one of the official versions spare, the official 2 Doctors variant, if you've got one, I would recommend keeping it as is. But if you've got one spare, then this is actually not a difficult custom to make, because as long as you can fit in the arms, and then I've just had to do a bit of re-sculpting around the shoulder to get the arms to fit in the right place so that they don't stick out too much either side. Pretty much all then you've got to do is be able to do the sculpting of the braces, and as long as you've got, you know, you sculpt the milliput at the right time, and then I used a small craft blade or a Stanley knife. Obviously if you're a younger viewer you need to be careful, you know, parental guidance doing these sorts of things, but I just get a craft blade and a Stanley knife and just literally take it along the back of it and along the front either side, just to give the braces a much more straight edge, so they're not too rough around around either side. They actually sort of look like they are straight pieces of sort of almost elastic fabric, and then it's just a case of adding on the same, once the first layer is dried, adding on the pins, the adjustment straps, whatever you want to call them, on the braces. Again, just using the same sort of technique with the Stanley knife, just to make sure that it's got a nice straight edge to it. And that's pretty much it. You know, it's a really nice, it's a custom that's come out really, really well. If it hadn't been for when I started doing this, if it hadn't been the fact that that the official version came out, I would have seriously probably considered at some point going back and perhaps doing an alternate version of this with his coat. But the thing is, now we've got an official version, obviously it's not something I'm going to do. But even then, I have to say, you know, I look at it and I think, you know, it's, even with the coat, there's very little sort of repainting stuff that had to be done, and it also meant that I could utilise the coat for some other customs which we're going to see in future as well. Not second Doctor customs, they've used them on other ones, but you will be seeing those in future. So doing a sort of coatless variant was something that really does just look, it looks nice, it looks the part. And alongside the 6th Doctor and the Sontaran, which you're going to be seeing soon as the final one in this series, the custom really does look very good, and I am really very pleased with the finished product. But that brings to a close another live from the workshop, the 2 Doctors, as always. I hope you'll enjoy this video. Like, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot. Be sure to check out the description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation, and you can get involved. There's exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and funding my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.